Hi everybody, and welcome back to Kevin's Upfront Opinion again today. So, today I thought I'd speak about something that's a bit personal, okay, and it's something that I've considered doing for a while. I've actually been told to do this, and I've been trying to back off on doing it, because I don't really like having a dig at people are unable to defend themselves. If it's a politician or a crook or something like that, no problem with doing it. But people that mean something to me or have meant something to me from my past, I don't really like doing that. So what I thought I'd do today is speak about what I've learned over the years about fatherhood. Now, anybody that says they're ready to become a dad, I will call them a point blank liar, because you aren't. Now, the reality is, what have I learned? And the reality is, I've learned an awful lot. So, the first time I personally became a father, God, I don't even want to be doing this because I'm going to face repercussions for it. Right, it was August 2009. Okay. Now, some people would say, yeah, you were just sperm donors. A lot of women would say. And if I'm brutally honest, I learned a lot from that. The hard way. And I mean the really hard way. And I don't have any animosity towards that particular person that I had a child with. I have no animosity towards her. She may have it towards me, but I don't have any towards her. She did what she felt was right, and I was a complete ass to her. What I did was unforgivable, and I didn't abuse her, didn't beat her up, didn't emotionally abuse her, didn't cheat on her or anything like that. I made some stupid and naive comments. And I had to learn the hard way. And she punished me for it. And I deserved it. I deserved everything I got. Some people would say maybe I didn't. In some ways I did. So the one thing I learned from that, and I will give every man this one piece of advice. If you're with somebody who's pregnant, be very, very, very careful about anything you say. Because the reality is, if you don't, it's their most vulnerable time at the end of the day. And taking that experience, I learned for when my wife was pregnant with my daughter Jasmine. So I was able to take that because obviously my daughter Jasmine, who has Down syndrome and she has a heart condition, and my wife was struggling at the time. So I was much stronger. I made it look like I was much stronger. So from that first experience, even though I've punished myself every day since I sent that stupid message to her, and I'm not going to name her or anything because it's not right for me to do that. And I have punished myself. I punished myself so much. I ended up being diagnosed with depression recently. Only a couple of days after getting in contact with our previous partner. It's only about 3 days. A breakdown. And I got put on antidepressants. But I'd masked it for so many years, because I just delved into work. So I learned a lot from that, of being careful what you say, because it might come back to haunt you. And unless you're willing to take the repercussions, be bloody careful what you say. Even if you're trying to be funny and clever and you think you're a smart ass, they're not going to see it that way. So at the end of the day, my ex-girlfriend, I can only apologise to her so many times. My daughter, I can only apologise so many times for my failings. I can't do anything else. Then I'll move on to my other children. Okay, so with my wife, I've got 5 children and 1 stepdaughter. And obviously my stepdaughter, okay, I never came into her life until she was, 13? I think she was 13 when I first met her. Okay. So obviously, you know, she'd gone through most of our childhood. She was a pain in the ass, a right real pain in the ass. And I think she can openly admit that herself. But God love her. And she is a lovely girl. And if my stepdaughter's watching, I won't say that to you or let anybody know that I've said that. But when it came to my other children, because my first child with my wife, we had, well, saying we had him very quickly is the wrong wording. He was conceived fairly soon after us getting together. And the first thing I wasn't prepared for, because unlike a lot of men who take a back step, I didn't. And whether my wife's family want to admit this or not, my wife will. She'll openly admit it. Okay. And it's relevant for all of my children apart from my last one, my youngest son, who's 1.5 at the moment. But I did all of the night feeds. I got up during the night to change the nappies and do all those bits and pieces. Yes, my wife did do it as well. When it came to my last son, our last child, I didn't really do it because from a medical point of view, I was really struggling and I was unable to do it. And I'd, you know, over the last couple of years, well, last 5 years really, I've had a lot of health problems. So I realistically struggled to do it. You know, so obviously the lack of sleep was the first thing I learned. But I was not going to sleep much apart from during the day. And then obviously I had my wife on my case moaning at me, why are you asleep during the day? Even though I was supposed to be working, you know, I'd go to sleep during the day because I've been up half the night, you know, either feeding them or changing one of their nappies. Now, one of the other things that you need to take a look at is, are you there enough? Because time they're growing up goes like, it just goes like nothing else on this earth. You know, and the classic case was, and I don't mean to keep on talking about my ex-girlfriend, when I spoke to her, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I spoke to her on the phone for about hour and a half, hour and 3/4. I didn't realise how old my daughter was. Didn't realise, well, she's doing her exams at the moment. I didn't realise she'd be 16, 3 days after my birthday. Now, my birthday's on the 3rd of August, hers is on the 6th of August. And I thought, Christ, that makes me bloody old to have a child that's basically an adult. I know a lot of people would say it's that you're an adult at 18 or 21, you know, whatever route you want to go down at the end of the day. And then my eldest son is 9, you know, he's 10 next month, you know, my stepdaughter's 24. You know, these are the things that make me feel old. And then you start questioning, have you been there enough? And these are the things I don't really like to face up to. And because of all the problems I've had through my life, and especially recently because I've been married to do counselling and all that type of stuff at the moment to face up to my past. That's one of the reasons I'm doing these videos at the moment. I had to come to terms, but I haven't. So the reality is this: was I there enough for my eldest daughter? No, I was never there. Never been there for her, and that's something to be ashamed of. Anybody that says that they're not is either lying to themselves or they're a really bad fucking parent. And when it comes to her, I've been both. When it comes to my other children, I would generally say no, I haven't. Maybe for my daughter Jasmine, it's a different kettle of fish. But my problem was I just started work. I just started working, and all I cared about was work. I didn't even really think about my wife, to be honest. All I worried about was working, and I was working from about, some days from about 7 o'clock in the morning to some days to about 1 o'clock in the evening or 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, admittedly, I'd take breaks in that, you know, I'd make sure the washing was done, everybody got fed and everything. Wouldn't watch a movie. You know, I'm the person, and this is something to really be ashamed of. We went on holiday, and we would go on holiday like twice a year. I'd take my laptop with me. I'd be working the entire time that we were on holiday. The day me and my wife got married, I was working. Okay, so whilst I was, because my two oldest sons were my best mans, because everybody was arguing about who was going to be my best man, I thought, sod it, I'll make my two sons my best man. But everybody can shut the hell up and stop whining about it. And when we renewed our vows, I had 3 best mans, and they were all under the age of 7 or 8. Okay, I think they were all under the age of 8. One was technically my nephew, the other 2 were my 2 eldest sons, yet again. And on those days, even though I got them changed and everything, I was still working. During the ceremony I wasn't working, but after the ceremony and we went to have something to eat, and my beloved stepdaughter was making her speech, I was on my phone responding to emails, responding to messages I received, and that's an awful thing. Even when we went on our honeymoon, I took my work with me because I became that obsessed. And the reason why I became so obsessed with working all the time was I was trying to hide other things that people didn't know about, or I didn't want them to know about. So I just delved myself into work, which isn't a great thing to do. Now, the last 2 things I'm going to speak about is being able to admit when you're struggling. Okay. Now, when it comes to this, I've had 2 people who've had a go at me about this recently. And they're both women. Both of them are women. And this is the worst part about it. One's my wife, and one's my ex-girlfriend. They've both had a go at me about it. And if my wife finds out that my ex-girlfriend's had a go at me about it, I'm going to get aggro off my ex-wife, off my wife. I shouldn't say ex-wife, God. I'm going to get aggro for that now. And obviously, I have had problems in the past, and where I've struggled in everything, and I refused to deal with it. I just tried to hide it and buried it and never spoke to anybody about it. Mainly because, from my personal opinion, and this is just the way that I felt that I was alone. and didn't want to speak to anybody about it. And all I did was carried on working, which made it even worse. And then it was just a progression over many, many, many years. And it got to the stage where I had a breakdown. I literally, now when people say a breakdown can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And it can come in different manners. Now when it happened to me, I was actually I wasn't sat on the beach. I was in my kitchen originally, and my wife was moaning at me. Well, wasn't moaning, saying that we had to take kids to school. And I could feel myself weeping, and she asked me what it was. I just said it was hay fever, because she knows I suffer from hay fever anyway. So we took the kids to school, and my eyes just kept on weeping. It had nothing to do with hay fever. And we got to school, to junior school, and I said to my wife, I've got to go. And she said, okay. So I went off and did what I normally do. Go down to the beach, which I do every single morning. And I'll normally start recording YouTube videos or TikTok or whatever it's going to be. And I just started crying. And I could not stop crying. And only one person knows why I was crying. And I don't even really want to admit it, in case any of those particular people that have been trolling me are still trolling me. Okay. And it was two particular reasons why I couldn't stop crying. One was the realisation how badly I'd messed up to do with my first daughter. And the other was how many problems I'd caused to do with my stepdaughter. And they were the two reasons. And I couldn't stop crying. And then a friend of mine came and picked me up and brought me home because he knew what had happened. And I went onto my computer when I got back. And I still don't even remember doing this. And I messaged somebody. I don't even know why I messaged them. And I haven't even responded. They've responded back to me. And I don't even know why I even sent them a message. Because it was a really stupid thing to do. And I will expect repercussions at some stage. Because I messaged a member of my ex-girlfriend's family, and I hadn't spoken to her in nearly 16 years. She was the last member of her family I ever spoke to, and I don't know why I did it. And I'm too ashamed to even respond to her after she messaged me back, because I feel awful for doing it. I thought, why on earth did I do it? Because I don't even remember doing it, to be honest. And on that day, my wife made me go to doctors to get some start getting treatment for it, which then brings you on to the other side of the coin. But once you have had a child, the feeling it actually gives you, because I've always said, but the feeling it gives you the first time you hold that child, I can't even explain myself. And I've had several children. I've said in the past that feelings from, and I'm trying to find the easiest way to explain it. If you take, for instance, my daughter Jasmine, because we didn't know if she was going to survive, it was more of a feeling of relief once she was born, and we saw that she was fairly okay, even though she's got a heart condition and she has Down syndrome. We could see that she was relatively okay, which is a completely different feeling to all the others. out of all my children, I was only at the birth for 2 of them. You know, and some of that boiled down to circumstances, which were completely beyond my control. But you know, when you take into account my 2 youngest daughters, I was there at the birth, and I did cut the cord, and I did give them feed them their first, well, half of their first bottle, and I did change their first nappies and everything. That feeling, you know, to be honest, you can't beat it, but I can't explain it either. I find it very difficult to explain. And I think it was my first son. Might have been, yeah, I'm sure it was my first son. Might have been my daughter. My second daughter, where I went and bought her first teddy, and I went to the League of Friends shop at Queen Alexandra Hospital in Portsmouth. I remember, because I used to work for the League of Friends. I used to be the treasurer for them. And I remember going around there to get her this little teddy bear. It's about this big. It's like a blue knitted one, which I'm sure it was a blue knitted one, which I went and got for her straight after she was born. So yeah, it must have been my daughter. You know, but like I say, it's an experience, but I cannot explain. So I hope this helps everybody out, because I've rambled on for like 20 minutes already. Obviously, if you are new to the channel, if you could subscribe or follow, I would appreciate it. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all again a bit later.